Welcome to Ladybug News. Today we are examining one of the most vital and deeply integrated economic partnerships in the world, the bilateral relationship between the United States and Canada. Bound by geography, history, and highly synchronized supply chains, these two nations form the backbone of North American economic prosperity. However, in late summer 2026, this historically stable alliance entered turbulent waters, as severe trade friction raised urgent questions about cross-border commerce, energy reliance, and national sovereignty. To understand what is at stake, we must look at the immense scale of this commercial partnership. Goods and services do not simply move across the border, they are co-developed. Products in sectors like automotive, aerospace, and manufacturing routinely cross the border multiple times during production. By 2024, nearly 3.6 billion Canadian dollars, or approximately 2.6 billion US dollars, worth of goods and services cross between the US and Canada every single day. Canada ranks as the top export market for American goods, while the US relies heavily on Canadian vehicles, machinery, and raw materials. Governed for decades by free trade agreements like NAFTA and its successor, the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, this system created a nearly frictionless continental supply network. Energy serves as the undisputed backbone of this relationship. Canada is the single largest foreign supplier of energy to the United States. In 2025, Canadian exports accounted for 63.4% of U.S. crude oil imports, over 81% of electricity imports, and nearly 100% of imported natural gas. This energy flow relies on an expansive network of more than 100 transboundary oil and natural gas pipelines carrying around 4 million barrels of crude oil per day, creating a physical integration that cannot be unraveled quickly. Beyond traditional energy, both countries have turned their focus toward strategic critical minerals needed for clean energy and defense technologies. In January 2020, the two nations established the Canada-U.S. Joint Action Plan on Critical Minerals Collaboration. By May 2024, this translated into direct joint investments in key Canadian mining ventures. Lomico Metals in Quebec received 4.9 million Canadian dollars from Canada and 8.4 million US dollars from the US Department of Defense for pilot testing to turn flake graphite into battery-grade material. Meanwhile, Fortune Minerals in the Northwest Territories received up to 7.5 million Canadian dollars and 6.4 million US dollars to advance engineering for North American supplies of bismuth, cobalt, copper, and gold. These initiatives showed how both governments view critical mineral supply chains as a continental security imperative. Despite these deep financial and industrial ties, bilateral relations encountered severe disruption in August 2026. Following the breakdown of key trade talks, the United States imposed 50% tariffs on select Canadian exports under Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930. The tariffs target over 500 product categories, including machinery, plastics, dairy, and cement, affecting roughly $28 billion, or about 5% of Canada's exports to the U.S. Reports indicate the conflict stems from American efforts to use economic weight to push Canada into deeper defense and trade dependencies, which Canadian leaders firmly rejected to protect national sovereignty. In response to U.S. concerns over trade deficits, Canadian officials, including Mark Carney, pointed out that the deficit is heavily driven by massive U.S. consumption of Canadian energy. Carney highlighted that Canada provides 99% of U.S. natural gas imports, framing energy access as one of Canada's strongest leverage points in ongoing discussions. Moving forward, the U.S. Canada partnership remains a vital economic powerhouse. Yet the developments of 2026 serve as a stark reminder that even the closest alliances demand ongoing diplomatic effort. Both nations must now navigate the challenge of protecting sovereign interests while maintaining the shared economic systems that sustain North America. Thank you for tuning in to Luck Ladybug News.